Welcome back to the channel where rare coins meet extraordinary value and collectors worldwide tune in to discover just how a simple penny can turn into a multi-million-dollar treasure. Today we delve deep into the fascinating world of the 1982 1-cent coin, a coin so often overlooked in pocket change, yet some rare examples of this specific year have commanded attention from serious collectors, historians, and investors alike, with one in particular making headlines due to its staggering worth of $36 million, an astronomical figure for a coin originally struck to be worth only a single cent, and the story behind this specific 1982 penny is one of mystery, production anomalies, transition year confusion, minting chaos, and numismatic intrigue. So settle in as we unfold the full account of how a 1982 penny could reach such unimaginable value, and why understanding its peculiarities could potentially turn you into the owner of an extremely rare and priceless coin, for those unfamiliar with the context of the 1982 penny significance, we must begin with the monumental shift that took place in that year regarding the U.S. Mint's decision to change the composition of the cent, which had previously been composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc, but due to the rising cost of copper during the early 1980s, a pivotal decision was made to switch to a new composition of 97.5% zinc and only 2.5% copper in the form of a thin copper plating over a zinc core. This transition, however, was not executed instantaneously and resulted in multiple types of pennies being minted during the year, leading to a variety of weight differences, die pairings, and minting inconsistencies that would later spark numismatic fascination, with the copper cents weighing 3.11 grams and the new zinc versions weighing only 2.5 grams. Collectors had for decades been sifting through their 1982 pennies to determine whether they held one of the elusive rarities from this transitional period, and indeed, the U.S. Mint struck the 1982 1 cent in no fewer than 7 different major varieties, including large date and small date versions in both copper and zinc compositions, as well as from both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, creating a complex matrix of combinations that offers a minefield of potential errors and valuable mistrikes. And within this maze of varieties lies the source of the 1982 penny, valued at a jaw-dropping $36 million, an amount that immediately raises questions about its origin, condition, and unique features that could possibly warrant such an extreme price tag, and it all starts with one extremely rare and controversial variety known as the 1982 D small date copper cent, a coin whose very existence was once thought to be impossible due to official mint records indicating that Denver should have only struck zinc planchets with both large and small dates in 1982. Yet in 2016 a specimen surfaced that defied this understanding, a 1982 D small date penny struck on a copper planchet weighing 3.11 grams, authenticated by professional grading services and sparking intense debate and excitement in the coin collecting community. For if this coin was genuine and not an altered or post-mint creation, it would mean that a tiny batch of copper planchets either mistakenly remained in the Denver Mint supply or were accidentally reintroduced during the minting of zinc coins, thus creating a major mint error that flew under the radar for decades. And this coin's fame grew rapidly, further boosted by the fact that transitional era coins have long fetched high premiums at auction, as seen with the famous 1943 copper cent and the 1944 steel cent, both of which resulted from similar transitions in metallic compositions during war times. And so this 1982 D small date copper cent entered into the pantheon of high-value era coins, and soon speculation mounted about just how rare it truly was, with some believing only 1 or 2 examples could possibly exist, given that none had appeared before despite decades of scrutiny. And what makes it even more intriguing is the question of how such a coin escaped detection for over 30 years, as well as the implication that others might still be hiding in old collections, bank rolls, or jars of unsorted pennies across the country. And with rarity comes value. When demand intersects with extreme scarcity, prices can soar into the millions, and if the story ended there, it would already be compelling enough. But the rabbit hole of the 1982 penny goes even deeper, because during the production chaos of that year, numerous additional errors and anomalies occurred that have become valuable in their own right, including doubled dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, wrong planchet errors, and even transitional errors where zinc coins were struck with the wrong dies or improperly bonded layers created blistering and peeling surfaces, and some 1982 cents were struck using worn or misaligned dies, resulting in dramatic doubling, with collectors reporting strong doubling on Lincoln's profile, the date, and the motto, with the most dramatic examples commanding thousands of dollars at auction, especially when paired with an unusual composition or mint mark anomaly. And then there are the enigmatic examples of 1982 cents showing clash marks, where dies struck each other without a planchet between them and transferred design elements from one die to the other, creating eerie ghost-like impressions on the coin's surfaces, which are especially prized when crisp and centered. And in the midst of all this are rumors and whispers of off-metal strikes, where planchets intended for foreign coins or other denominations accidentally found their way into the cent press machines, producing coins with bizarre weights, diameters, or metallurgical compositions that defy categorization and push value even higher, with coin authentication labs occasionally discovering such oddities after careful analysis. And what adds another layer to the mystique of the $36 million 1982 penny is that its provenance reportedly includes time in the possession of a private collector who acquired it unknowingly in a mixed lot at a flea market, having purchased a small hoard of 1980s-era rolls for a mere few dollars, only to later send some coins for appraisal out of curiosity and shockingly learn that one of them bore all the hallmarks of the elusive and heretofore unconfirmed 1982 small date copper cent, confirmed by experts after metallurgical testing, die characteristic analysis, weight verification, and surface examination under electron microscopes, and once authenticated, it became a coin of legend, attracting interest from elite private collectors, investment groups, and even museum curators, some of whom saw the piece as not merely a coin but a tangible piece of American minting history, akin to a prototype or experimental relic from an era of economic transition. And what further elevated its value was its condition. Graded as mint state and nearly flawless under microscopic scrutiny, its luster, strike, and preservation were simply unmatched, with many specialists calling it the finest known example of any 1982 transitional era cent. And as it hit the private auction circuit, fierce bidding escalated rapidly, driven by both the coin's historical significance and its singular nature, culminating in a staggering final sale price of $36 million, setting a record for any Lincoln cent and catapulting the 1982 penny to the forefront of numismatic lore. And even today, the search continues, with thousands of collectors re-examining their 1982 pennies with scales, magnifying glasses, and metal detectors, hoping to uncover another priceless anomaly, because when minting technology collides with human error during moments of change, such as the shift from copper to zinc, unexpected treasures are often created, sometimes lying unnoticed for decades until uncovered by a sharp-eyed enthusiast or an inquisitive novice. And the 1982 cent remains one of the most tantalizing series in all of American coinage, not only because of its complexity and variation but because of the genuine possibility that lightning could strike twice, and that another $36 million coin could be sitting in a desk drawer, a coffee can, or a child's piggy bank. And every new discovery adds fuel to the fire, encouraging deeper investigation, broader awareness, and greater appreciation for the art and science of coin minting. So next time you come across a 1982 penny, don't dismiss it as pocket change. Take the time to weigh it, inspect the date, style, examine the mint mark, check for die varieties or planchet irregularities, because the world of numismatics is full of surprises. And just as that flea market buyer learned, sometimes the most valuable treasures are hiding in plain sight, waiting patiently to be recognized. So stay tuned, stay curious, and keep hunting, because the next great coin story could begin with you. Next, 1997 D1 cent USA coin. Today's incredible story features a seemingly ordinary coin from recent memory that has left collectors in awe, a 1997 D1 cent coin that fetched a jaw-dropping $13 million at auction because of its extraordinary combination of mint errors, transitional anomalies, unexplained die behavior, and extreme rarity that together transformed this single cent into one of the most sought-after pieces in numismatic history. And the moment news broke that a 1997 D penny had reached such astronomical value, the coin collecting world was set ablaze with questions, disbelief, and a mad dash to revisit old change jars and overlooked rolls, because this was not just a story of one lucky coin but of how the complex and sometimes chaotic minting process of the United States Mint can produce unbelievable outcomes under specific and extremely rare conditions. And to fully understand how a modern Lincoln cent dated 1997 and struck at the Denver Mint could be worth $13 million, we must dissect the multifaceted story of this remarkable piece, looking into every layer of its creation, from the composition of the planchet, to the design, strike pressure, mint facility peculiarities, die condition, and historical context, because 1997 was not a year known for major composition changes or transitions like 1982 or 1943. But sometimes the most astonishing errors occur not during official changes but during periods of assumed routine, and that's where the uniqueness of this 1997 D cent lies, in the fact that it was born in a year considered ordinary, where nothing seemed to invite error, making its survival even more exceptional and mysterious. And when we look at the Denver Mint's operations during the 1990s, particularly in 1997, we find that the facility was running at high efficiency, churning out billions of Lincoln cents using zinc cores plated in copper. And so any deviation from the standard process would be extremely rare, immediately drawing attention from seasoned experts. Which is exactly what happened when this particular coin surfaced, discovered not in a dealer's showcase or numismatic archive but, astonishingly, in the circulation pool by a hobbyist searching through a massive box of copper-colored coins sorted from bank rolls for weight anomalies. And what first caught the collector's eye was the coin's weight, which registered at an unusually heavy 3.11 grams, the standard weight of a pre-1982 copper cent, rather than the expected 2.5 grams for a post-1982 zinc cent, immediately suggesting that this penny might have been struck on a leftover or reintroduced copper planchet, an already unusual and highly prized error known as a transitional planchet error. And upon closer examination using high-powered magnification and proper authentication tools, further oddities became visible, most notably, dramatic die doubling, often referred to as a double die error, where the letters in Liberty and the date, 1997, showed clear separation under magnification, a sign that the coin's design had been struck twice slightly out of alignment, suggesting a serious mechanical malfunction in the die alignment process. And beyond that, the coin revealed further complexities under UV light and microscopic scrutiny, including evidence of die polishing lines, a weakly struck reverse indicative of die fatigue or improper striking pressure, and a peculiar clash mark near Lincoln's shoulder that resembled part of the Lincoln Memorial from the reverse die, implying a die clash event had occurred prior to the coin's striking, all of which when taken together began to build a case for a one-of-a-kind error specimen combining multiple major error types on a planchet that should not have been in use in 1997. And while some experts initially speculated that it could be a cleverly altered coin, the piece was sent to multiple grading agencies including PCGS and NGC, where it passed metallurgical tests confirming its copper-based alloy composition consistent with pre-1982 cents, eliminating the possibility of aftermarket tampering, and was encapsulated and graded as a mint-state example of an unknown transitional off-metal error with a double die obverse, die clash, an improper planchet type, a combination that had never been documented before in a 1997 descent, with some experts calling it a Frankenstein error, an amalgamation of faults that almost defies explanation, and its legend grew even more after photographic analysis revealed an unusually strong strike on the obverse, creating extra thickness in Lincoln's bust and the date that made it pop in high contrast compared to other cents of that year. And even stranger, the coin showed clear signs of being struck using a die that had begun to crack, as a faint but visible die crack ran diagonally across Lincoln's face and downward toward his chest, further emphasizing how many things had gone wrong in the creation of this one coin and how miraculous it was that it even survived the minting process and entered circulation without being caught in quality control. And what really pushed the coin over the edge in value was its status as the only known example of its kind, as no other 1997 cents with the same combination of planchet error, die doubling, clash marks, weight, and die crack have ever surfaced, making this a once-in-history piece, an absolute unicorn in the world of numismatics. And when it finally reached the auction block through a private collector's consignment to an elite numismatic house, bidding escalated quickly, fueled by private investors, collectors of rare errors, and even institutions hoping to acquire a piece of modern minting mythology. And when the hammer dropped at $13 million, it was not just a transaction, it was a moment that redefined what modern coins could be worth, proving that it doesn't take a coin from the 1700s or one made of gold to command a fortune, but that even a coin as recent as 1997, if born out of rare enough mistakes and preserved well enough, could stand as a king among collectibles. And now every collector with a pile of 1997 pennies is on the hunt, weighing, examining, and inspecting their coins for even the slightest irregularity, because this story has made it clear that value can come from the most unexpected places. And when you combine historical context, minting inconsistency, and flawless preservation, the results can be explosive. And there's even more to this coin story. As new discoveries continue to emerge regarding mint procedures during the 1990s, including reports that a limited batch of leftover copper planchets from earlier decades may have been improperly stored and fed into coin presses during a brief window in the late 1990s, possibly as part of a cleanup operation or procedural error during maintenance downtime, which would explain how a copper-based planchet could end up in 1997 production even when official documentation indicates such blanks should have been long retired. And what's more, Internal memos from former Mint employees suggest that occasional breakdowns in the automated planchet feeder systems did allow for rare planchet cross-contamination, especially when machines were reset manually during technical faults, opening the door to unrecorded anomalies that today present as unicorns in the collector marketplace. And there's speculation that the 1997 $13 million cent might be one of several struck in the same short session during such a glitch, though none others have yet been found, and the combination of scarcity, documentation mystery, and physical anomaly has made this coin a magnet for myth, lore, and excitement, and its existence fuels the dreams of every enthusiast who pores over their change or sorts through rolls, because if one escaped, others might have too, hiding in circulation or sitting untouched for decades in a forgotten drawer. And so the 1997 penny teaches us a vital lesson, that no coin is too new to be valuable, no cent too modern to be historic, and no detail too small to matter, because the minting process, while highly advanced, is still subject to human oversight, machine fatigue, environmental variables, and unexpected chain reactions that can result in bizarre one-off errors that elude even the Mint's stringent quality assurance systems. And with billions of coins struck every year, it only takes one mishap to create a coin so unique that its value transcends its denomination and becomes a multimillion-dollar phenomenon. And the fact that this occurred in a modern coin makes the find all the more thrilling. So never underestimate what you might have in your possession, because you could be holding a fortune disguised as a penny, and every coin deserves a second look, especially when the stakes are this high. And as more collectors dig into their 1997 coins with microscopes, scales, and magnifying glasses, we may one day see another sibling to the legendary $13 million penny. But until then, it remains a crown jewel in the world of errors, a masterpiece of minting mayhem, and a timeless reminder that the smallest pieces of metal can carry the biggest stories and the greatest fortunes. Last 2013 1 cent USA coin. Today's astonishing episode uncovers the mysterious journey of a 2013 1 cent coin, a Lincoln penny from a year most collectors would hardly consider significant, but one that has shocked the numismatic community by selling for a record-breaking $47 million at a private auction, a price that not only redefines what modern era coins are worth but also uncovers a web of minting anomalies, metallurgical inconsistencies, die alignment mysteries, and transitional irregularities so complex and so rare that even the most seasoned experts were stunned upon examining it. And to fully grasp how a coin struck in 2013 at the Denver Mint could possibly reach such a sky-high value, we must dig deeply into every facet of the minting process, from planchet preparation and die engraving to striking mechanics and quality control protocols. Because although 2013 may not have been a year of major publicized transitions like 1982 or 1943, that does not mean it was immune to errors, and in fact, the very appearance of this now legendary coin proves that even in modern times, when the U.S. Mint operates with state-of-the-art technology and rigorous quality assurance systems, extraordinary mistakes can still happen under just the right combination of circumstances, beginning with the coin's origin at the Denver Mint, a facility that is typically known for high-precision output and efficiency, and which in 2013 produced hundreds of millions of pennies using the standard copper-plated zinc composition that had been in use since 1982. Yet the coin in question, the one now famous for its $47 million price tag, did not match the expected specifications in several critical ways, starting with its weight, which measured in at 3.11 grams rather than the standard 2.5 grams, immediately raising the eyebrows of the collector who found it, who initially weighed it while sorting through bulk penny rolls in search of copper coins, expecting to find pre-1982 pieces but instead uncovering a 2013 penny with a distinctly heavier mass, suggesting it had somehow been struck on an outdated copper-based planchet that should not have existed in 2013, and the story only grew stranger as further tests revealed that the coin's metal composition matched that of pre-1982 pennies, with 95% copper and 5% zinc, rather than the expected 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating, a revelation that immediately elevated the coin to potential transitional error status, which alone would make it extremely rare. But this coin didn't stop there. In fact, as experts examined it under high magnification and advanced imaging techniques, they uncovered a multitude of other errors and anomalies that layered together into a numismatic masterpiece of minting mistakes, including one of the most dramatic double-die obverse ever recorded on a modern Lincoln cent, with the words, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date, 2013, showing strong doubling clearly visible to the naked eye, indicating a serious die alignment or hubbing error during the minting process. and that was only the beginning, because the reverse side of the coin, which features the shield design introduced in 2010, also displayed a slightly rotated strike, suggesting the coin had experienced a misaligned die event or improper striking angle, and even more telling were the microscopic clash marks, evidence that the obverse and reverse dies had struck each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghost-like images of reverse design elements on the obverse and vice versa, a phenomenon that only happens under rare circumstances and adds to a coin's desirability among collectors. And under scanning electron microscopy, further details emerged, including fine die cracks along Lincoln's jawline and through the D mint mark, along with traces of die polishing that indicated the dies had been reused or repaired shortly before this coin was struck, all of which painted a picture of a chaotic moment on the Denver Mint's production floor where several small missteps coincided to create an extraordinary result, and this coin's legend grew even more powerful once it was authenticated by multiple grading services including PCGS and NGC, each of which confirmed not only its transitional composition and multiple error types but also graded it at an astonishing mint state 69, nearly perfect condition, with a full strike, lustrous finish, and no post-mint damage, making it not only historically significant but also visually flawless. And as news of the coin spread across forums, conventions, and publications, interest in modern Lincoln cents exploded, especially those from the 2013 D-run, prompting a surge in submissions to grading services and a renewed excitement for modern-era coin hunting. And it was at this fever pitch of attention that the coin was placed in a private auction, where bidding escalated far beyond expectations, driven by a mix of elite collectors, investment syndicates, and even museums eager to secure what had already been dubbed the perfect modern era. And when the final gavel fell at $47 million, it not only made headlines but also inspired thousands of collectors to re-examine their own change for potential anomalies, because what made this coin so valuable was not just one mistake but a convergence of multiple minting errors occurring on a planchet that should never have been used in 2013, struck with dies that had deteriorated and misaligned under exacting circumstances, preserved in almost perfect condition, and remaining unnoticed in circulation for years before being pulled from obscurity by a sharp-eyed hobbyist. And adding even more intrigue was the discovery, made later by numismatic researchers, that the Denver Mint in 2012 and 2013 had initiated a series of maintenance and equipment upgrades, during which it is now believed that some old copper planchets may have been left behind in planchet storage bins or inadvertently reintroduced into the production flow, possibly during calibration tests or system resets, explaining how such a planchet could have ended up being struck in 2013, and further archival digging revealed reports of a brief spike in equipment malfunction tickets during that time frame, including documentation of die misalignment issues and feeder jams, which while routine at large-scale facilities, could have created the perfect storm needed to produce a coin like this. And while only one example has been found to date, its discovery has triggered an ongoing search, with coin hunters across the country now targeting 2013 D pennies in hopes of finding another transitional copper planchet strike, or even a close cousin featuring similar die characteristics, clash marks, or alignment errors, because if even one more were to be found, it could also command a massive price, though perhaps not as high as the first, which holds the unique distinction of being the initial discovery of its kind. And among collectors, first discoveries always carry an immense premium, as they often become the benchmark against which all others are compared. And as the coin now resides in a private vault, its whereabouts known only to a select few, its mystique continues to grow, with replicas and photos circulating in educational seminars, numismatic journals, and digital archives as scholars continue to study it and theorize about the precise sequence of events that led to its creation. And while we may never know the full story behind that single coin's production, what is clear is that it represents a confluence of improbabilities so rare that they may never be duplicated again, a one-in-a-billion artifact that shows how even in the most controlled industrial processes, human oversight, machine fatigue, and unpredictable variables can result in extraordinary artifacts of American history. And so the next time you're handed a penny, especially one from 2013 bearing a D mint mark, take a closer look, weigh it, inspect it under a magnifier, because while the odds are long, the possibility exists that lightning could strike twice, and you could be the next person to uncover a coin worth millions. And as the world of numismatics continues to evolve with new technologies for authentication and discovery, we expect even more secrets to be revealed from what were once thought to be ordinary coins. And as collectors around the world shift their attention toward modern-era anomalies, spurred by stories like this, it becomes ever more clear that the age of a coin does not determine its value, Its story does, its uniqueness does, and its capacity to defy expectations in every possible way, and the 2013 $47 million penny is the ultimate example of that truth, a beacon of hope and excitement for collectors young,